Hey, welcome back. So in the last video on SchoolNet, we discussed making an express test, and we looked at how quickly, particularly a math teacher, can make a pretest that would allow them to check students' knowledge as well as post-tests. In this video, we're going to look at how you would go about making a manual test. So you go to Assessment Admin, click Create. This time we're going to create a test manually. Same deal as before. We come up with a test name. We pick a subject. We pick a grade level. For a manual test, it's in your best interest to leave this as 1 unless you're making your own questions, in which case it may make more sense to do more than that. But for what we're doing today, leave it at 1. You want to make sure that you choose My Classroom. You would leave the rest of these alone, except for you have to select the standards document. Every question requires a standard to be connected to it, even if you're creating your own questions. We'll leave these alone. If you have questions about co-authoring, feel free to stop by and ask me. But then you click Generate Test, and then it comes up with your first question. Now you have a couple of options. One, you can create your own questions, and if you choose to do that, then you would pick the type of question that you want. And then it brings up the page that matches that question type. You would put your question here, you would put your answers here, and mark whichever one is the correct one. You can add an explanation for the student as to why it's correct or why it was incorrect. You can add additional answer choices if you would like to. You can change what it looks like when the students look at it. This is where you would add the standard, and again, you have to add a standard. You can also upload a reference sheet, and you can determine which tools the student has access to. And there are other properties that you can add, such as your name, if you wanted to make it available to other teachers other than just yourself. If you accidentally clicked on multiple choice, but you actually wanted it to be a hotspot, you can change, and it'll give you a warning that says if you typed in information, it's not going to carry over with you. And then, as you can see, it changes based off of the type of question that you have. For this, you would have a picture, then you would draw a shape, and then you would ask the students to label it. You can also, language arts teachers, science teachers, social studies teachers, and really anyone that would find this useful can add a passage by clicking here. And you can search for passages that they have, or you can add your own. If you don't want to actually use your own questions, you want to use SchoolNet questions, you can do that as well. So you would add an item from Item Central. And this is where things diverge for our language arts friends. So language arts, you would not want items. You're going to want to search by passages. If you search by items, you're going to wind up with a bunch of questions, and each one has a long passage with it. So if you click on passages, then your search is going to bring up passages that match your standards. In this case, there's 420 for 6th grade. And you can sort by the number of items, you can sort by publisher, you can sort by a number of different things. So you're going to notice one of the downsides of this particular thing is that it does the lowest up to the highest, and so you would want to scroll further and further down. But if you go to the bottom, you can change it from 25 results to 500 or 100, which is what we'll use now in interest of time, and that'll give you more passages to choose from on the screen. And what you'll do once you do that is you can scroll down, and the further you go down, the more questions there are per passage. And so eventually you would decide which passage that you were interested in using. In this case, we're going to go with putting the pieces together. You're going to click on the box. And if there's more than one passage, you can click on 2 boxes. And then you add the passages with items to the test. And it will bring it up. Well, let's go ahead and erase this one that we were messing with earlier. And it will have the passage, and under the passage it's going to have the questions. And so at this point you can choose, just as before, you can choose to use the questions or you can delete the questions. In this case, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to replace it because you already have all of the questions that go with that passage. So you would either keep it or you would remove it from the test. And that's it. That's all there is to making a manual test.